Speedway Tavern. Speedway Tavern. Speedway Tavern.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? We've got 10 teams in the championship, just about a league, I would say. 6 teams in the Premiership. Can that really be called a league, or is it more of a round robin? Well, whatever your views on that, at least it means that we should have enough time to get a full programme in and get to the playoffs before the really cold and wet British weather makes us all want to stay at home. Well, it would be nice, but that isn't the reality, is it? Instead, we have some teams with weeks of inactivity, while others quickly get through their league programmes. And now, coming into October, we still don't even know who the finalists are going to be in the top 2 leagues. Only in Speedway.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. We have in the studio with us Chris and Matt, myself, and I know this is one of your bugbears.
Welcome to my world, Michael. Yeah. Welcome to my world. I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 seasons.
You have.
It shouldn't be rocket science to get a full programme of fixtures in when there's not that many fixtures in the season to get in. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They do it every year. That's the thing. It's not as if it's a one-off thing. No. You can guarantee next year they'll do exactly the same thing. You'll have weeks and weeks and weeks of clubs having no matches, and then suddenly the promoters will all turn their calendar to September the 1st and think, "Oh, I've got some matches I've got to get in.
And not only that, we've had weeks and weeks of dry weather.
Yeah.
Probably the driest. Well, we know it's the driest weather since 1976. 76. That was it. Yeah,
and they had more matches to get in then as well. That's the thing. So.
Yes,
because there were more clubs about.
Well, that's another thing. With 6 teams. The Premiership in particular, 6 teams.
The Premiership might be slightly handicapped by the fact that they've got to conform to the deal with the TV. Because from what I gather, it's the TV's preference to have the playoffs later on because there's less things going on. But the Championship shouldn't have any excuses. For me, you should be looking to finish all the league matches by the end of August and then start of September cracking with the playoffs. And you've got a chance then of getting them in then, but people don't want, because at the end of the day, you know full well when October comes, it's going to be getting colder,
absolutely,
wetter, nights are starting to draw in. People don't, especially with a lot of these clubs that have ageing fan bases as well. They don't want to be.
You mean all of them?
Most of them, yeah. certainly seems the way with the 1 or 2 clubs I know. But the people don't want to be out in that sort of condition. They want to be at home, staying in the warm.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't understand. For me, that we should know the dates of the finals at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we should. It should, should have should be there. So
I mean, okay,
you know
so
you've got to
some
work to.
clubs run on a Monday, etc., etc. But you can put it down to a ballpark figure. It's got to be between this date and this date. The first leg and the second leg's got to be between this date and this date, and then they have to sort it out. And if you don't, if there's still matches to be run after that, well, tough. They don't count towards the playoffs, and so there has to be. It should be a cut-off date earlier than it currently is.
Yeah.
To say, right, this is when it should be sorted out by. If you haven't run your matches by then, well, you should have done.
I don't have an issue with clubs running matches in October. That's up to them, but it shouldn't be matches to decide. Because the other thing that's worth thrown into the equation as well is the fact that with wet conditions, you get wet tracks, and it's sort of. I remember a couple of years ago when Wolves and Swindon raced each other in the playoffs, and it took about 3 or 4 attempts to get the first leg of the semi-final, right? Yeah. And even eventually when it was run on a wet night, but because they were running out of time to get it in, they had to run it, and it spoilt the meeting because it was on a wet track. It was a lottery of a meeting, and what should have been a really good meeting between two sides at the time that were in really good form was ruined because of the conditions.
And then you get situations also. I mean, thinking from the fans' point of view, you don't know who you're going to end up playing. But you could have a situation where Poole is playing Glasgow, for instance, just like we have this year.
Oh yes.
And then poor Poole fans, and I've never said that sentence before in my life, that go all the way up to Glasgow only for it to be rained off. I suppose it's always a chance at Glasgow that that's going to happen. But you take my point. It's not great.
Clearly Paul wanted to carry on with that meeting, didn't they? I mean, we watched the stream at home, and it was certainly Richard Lawson was very forthright, I think, in his opinion, from what we could see on the cameras, that he wanted the meeting to carry on. It was just I don't know. You think they'd learn the lesson, wouldn't you? I mean, to be fair, you're trying to do the promoters a favour as well, because it must be a headache for them trying to rearrange all these matches in, as much as it is having to pay money, and then you sit there waiting for the referee to walk round in his umbrella so he can say, "Yep, it's too wet, the meeting's off."
Well, we'll come on to the playoffs and stuff, and we'll have a look at who we think's going to go in each of the different semi-finals and so on that are going, and obviously that'll be also be part of our Nigel Pearson League.
Yep. And of course, I'll probably be in the league in the list next week as well.
Yes,
things are going
well. There is a chance, and I don't know whether you've seen the league table, but there's 1 point between first and second.
Yeah,
that's
2 points. Isn't
2
it?
points.
Is it 2 points? Is it right?
So.
I mean, it's getting close. But talking about Nigel Pearson,
there's even a chance that somebody could climb out of 17th. I think at the moment.
There is a chance. I had noticed that.
Yeah.
That I would consider that a victory. Talking of Nigel Pearson, it's nice to see that he's been inducted into the Speedway Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was obviously done last night at Monmouth. So
we've been given a couple of photos by Phil McGlinner which we'll put on at some point when Chris isn't so overworked.
Okay.
Talking of which, would you like to give a shout out to everybody that's on the show? Pops?
Okay, so hello to Elliot, Jim, Andrew, Andy, Lawrence, Pete, Terry Hall, Jeff Daniels, Elliot, Rich Thomas, and UK Speedway Tavern podcast man.
No, that's us.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so Elliot Hunt says, hi Elliot, by the way, I know Elliot quite well. Wolves were superb, done by 29th of August at home. Bellevue and Ipswich good to early September. King's Lynn and Sheffield quite far behind, struggle to complete them before the deadline. Now, Elliot, I believe, is a teacher. I hope he doesn't teach grammar because there's no punctuation in there, so I struggled a bit.
He knows you.
That's right. Well, I've got Sheffield's fixture list up here. They raced against Peterborough on the 14th of July, and their next home meeting was on the 8th of August, and that was the only home meeting they had until 25th of August. So you've got August. I mean, August is the period really where you should be staging most of your meetings. You know, the kids are off school, chance to get big crowds in, and these
I
clubs
know
aren't staging matches.
Birmingham sort of felt a bit hard done by that. They hadn't got many meaningful
Matches in
meetings
August.
in August, and yeah, I mean, which is, you know, a prime time for us because we get a lot more children turning up and so on.
Yeah,
And as somebody more wiser than me once said, children are our future.
absolutely.
Anyway, Pete Clark says in 1976 nobody complained about noise and dust. That's not true. We used to complain about dust quite a lot. Noise, not so much, but the dust, yeah. Craig Smee, the playoff semi-final should be taking place first week of September latest, and the playoff final the third or fourth week in September. We shouldn't be running into October at all unless we have a horrendous amount of postponements during summer months. But there certainly has to be a cut-off point. I mean, that seems sensible to me.
Well, with in fairness, the last 3 summers have been, you know, we've not had a massive amount of rain in the last 3 summers, have we? You know, you might have a couple of weeks where you got a few.
Let's say the
rain
last 2
showers.
summers because the one of them we lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to me, it's a choice. If you're going to have the playoffs, then do it properly,
Yeah.
or don't have the playoffs,
Mm.
and then it wouldn't matter so much. You know, because very often the league would have been sorted out. I mean, Ipswich would be top of the league, and
they would be well, Sheffield obviously of course finished top, didn't they? So
that was at Sheffield. So you know, yeah, it was. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
They had a great start, though, didn't they?
yeah.
It's not just the playoffs to go. There's still 2 rounds off the pairs.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, with the Premiership pairs, they've all been sort of spread over the whole course of the season. If you had them all within, I don't know, space of a month of each other, you keep a bit of interest in it.
Why not have them in the week of each other? It goes from that one to that one to that one to that one. Well, say 2 weeks maybe. It don't make sense to do it any other way. That would build up interest as well, wouldn't it?
Because I mean, to be honest, the last one was about 6 weeks ago.
Craig Smith says the playoffs should be known at the start of the season. It would certainly allow people to plan to book time off work in the event their team is in the playoffs. I'd have loved to have gone down to Ipswich on Thursday, but couldn't book off work, and weather needs to play ball as well. Long way to go for a rain off.
Certainly, always very, very wary about travelling to away meetings at this time of the year. Very, very wary.
Elliot says the championship playoffs started early September, a lot better than leaving till the end like Premiership. The problem with that is the championship have got
Quarterfinals as well.
Quarterfinals before the semi-finals, and there's more teams involved, isn't there? So it's taking a little bit longer, which I think probably they should have still just done the top 4. Maybe, I don't know. Anthony Bailey says, like Matt has alluded to, have you been alluding again?
Apparently so.
You've got to stop doing that, you know.
Yeah, we should stop
People
doing that.
need to know the full facts behind playoff dates. That is television. Now, with this as a factor, it's chicken and egg. Please the people who can broadcast and promote your sport, or please the few diehards who will always go. On this occasion, I have a lot of sympathy for everybody. Surely it's not good for the TV to have something on your schedule that is then rained off. That doesn't seem great to me.
No, not really. I do know it's one of the reasons I think why Sky eventually sort of got frustrated with British Speedway was the fact that they were turning up at meetings, paying an extortionate amount of money to set everything up, and then it rains and it's all off. So
Simon Corbett says, was Wolves hammering at Kings Lynn an average reduction exercise?
yes, it was a bit of a hammering, I must admit.
It was, crikey, it was.
63-27, I think.
Was you there?
No, I didn't go. Thankfully, I was watching it on the updates. That was bad enough. I mean, admittedly, there was. Well, I mean, I say nothing to go for, but Wolves, if a 6-point win could possibly have got Wolves into third place in the league, it could have got them an extra place. So, but other than that, really not a huge amount to go for. But I guess it must have been it did surprise me to go into a playoff meeting on the back of a result like that. It's not a track the Wolves generally do very well at anyway, but even so, that was a real surprise to lose by that many.
So Brian Buck doesn't agree with you.
Okay.
Very
Not the
easy
first
to
time.
say that playoff dates should be fixed at the start of the season, but we can never account for weather conditions. A wet August or a wet July is as possible as a wet September. Can't blame the BSPL for everything. Well, I can, but no. The thing that I would say about that is you've got a league of 6 teams. They meet each other twice.
Yep.
So that's 12 matches. If you can't get 12 matches
Well, 10
in...
matches, isn't it? 5 each.
Yeah, so if you can't get 10 matches in
Yeah.
before September, that's pretty poor. I don't believe that.
When you think about it, the only other team sport that you can think of that is sort of handicapped by the weather really is cricket, isn't it? But as far as I'm aware, they don't rearrange matches in cricket. They just
Well, they use this,
Duckworth-Lewis method
Lewis
to-
thing, don't they?
Goodness, I mean, I don't know whether they could introduce that into something like that into Speedway. I mean,
Oh,
they
God.
struggle with
Let's
the basic.
not-
They struggle with the basic
no,
rules. never mind
let's
anything
not
else.
do that. God.
But the only
Can you
other thing
imagine
is,
the arguments that
but
would
the only
cause?
other thing is, void the meeting and then just award a point to each team. Although I suppose that sort of opens the possibility of teams saying, "Oh, we can get this meeting called off, we'll get a point," which again is the usual perception, isn't it? So.
Craig Smees asks, but are we more likely to get autumnal weather in the middle of summer in August or the middle of autumn in October? Fair point, I'm guessing. I mean, it is Britain, so it isn't likely to get it any time. But, yeah.
Doesn't seem to have been. Last
Elliot
few
says,
years.
I travelled to the meeting and back home, was very annoyed as it was the worst team. I presume he's talking about the
Wolves,
Kings Lynn
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
there. It was the worst team performance for years. I was texting updates from the meeting. We only had one heat won by Nick Morris. All riders got 6 points or below. We was miles behind in some heats. Kings Lynn gated very comfortably and were miles ahead of us throughout the evening. I don't think one match is enough to lower averages
Don't think it
that
is.
much.
Not.
So. Jim Turrell, why not do away with the pointless playoffs? Well, they're not pointless because you win the thing by winning the playoffs, and replace them with a Challenge Cup. Been said many times by many people, but those in Speedway Towers don't listen.
I understand people not liking the playoffs, to be fair, because I suppose there's the argument that, well, the team that finishes top is the best team, they should win the league.
Team, it's the best team every year.
Although having said that, of course, you've got the...
I mean, as a Birmingham fan,
Yep.
we've suffered at the hands of Paul and the year that we were miles ahead of everybody else in the actual league.
But it does generate excitement in those few weeks when you're in the playoffs and you've got that to look forward to, and of course they are money spinners as well. So
But they did this Jubilee
league,
Cup.
yeah,
That
which was
could have
originally
been,
called
that could have been the Jubilee Cup.
yeah.
Playoffs could be the Jubilee Cup. It could you could for me.
That's a good idea.
Once again, hello. Thank you very much. The Aces jinx strikes again with the injury to Frick. He's disappeared again. He doesn't want me to read this out. There is some confusion on whether we can sign someone if it's a season-ending injury, which you can according to the rules. ? I looked it up on the SCB rules. Long has it is within Frick's average of 8.7. He is number one in Ace's average. 2 riders that do fit are Lambert and Woofington. Whether they would ride is another question. I don't think they can sign anybody, can they? I mean, we wasn't allowed to.
Paul were allowed to, weren't they?
Well,
They
they did sign Greg
didn't they? So,
Hancock, didn't they?
yeah. And obviously, 6 years ago, we signed Ty Woofington before going into the playoffs.
Yeah, but was it this late in the season?
It was
Because there is a cut-off date
no,
to
I think it was the
signing.
last week of. I think it was the last week of August. So doing it this late it's a massive blow for Bellevue to lose Max Frick. That really is a damaging blow to their chances.
If you can sign somebody, I would say Robert Lambert would be your best bet. I don't think Ty Woffington would be up for possibly riding against Wolverhampton.
Yes, it would make it a very interesting final if it's a Wolves. But if it does happen to be a Wolves Bellevue final, it would make it very interesting if Ty Woffington is in the Bellevue pits.
Yeah.
on that night.
Yeah,
Given the shenanigans that went on in the 2016 final.
How is Matt getting a 6-point away win for Wolves at Kings Lynn? Maximum you get for away win is 4 points.
I need to get rid of that 1970s calculator.
Yes.
I saw Jeff's comment there and I thought, yeah, actually, you're right there. So.
Yeah.
It's called cheating.
That's good getting old.
Yeah, and that as well. You would know.
Yeah, I would, and I do.
Craig Smee says Bellevue suffered a few years back winning the league by a country mile, then losing playoffs to Wolves. I bet you remember that.
I do remember that one.
The playoffs, however, generates excitement and keeps the league alive for longer. If a team runs away with the league, would teams be downing tools, riders choosing whether to ride or not, and lowering averages, etc.? So only in Speedway can something like that. Can that question be asked?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you go, oh, do you know what? You might have a point there. Well, maybe it's time to do away with averages.
How would you build the teams in? With the rider grading?
Rider grading.
Like they tried several years ago.
Rider grading.
I know that's what Pete Adams and should by the way.
Oh yes,
as well.
Yes.
Pete unfortunately had a nasty fall apparently at Monmouth Green last night in the pits and quite badly hurt himself by all accounts. So get well soon, Pete.
Get well soon, Pete. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Bellevue do about the Max Frick situation. These things always happen at the wrong time.
That's absolutely, yeah. It's a big loss for them because he's been in great form for them.
If I was Mark Lemon, Robert Lambert, no-brainer. Another name I'd get is Niels Christian Iverson. He has a work permit and could come straight in. Wouldn't be a bad shout.
Wouldn't be a bad shout, no.
He rides big tracks really well, doesn't he? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. It really is.
And we've caught up with the comments.
My God, it only took us, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Keep those comments going. Normally, at the beginning of the show, we get Chris to tell everybody how to join in, but you've all got it sorted out now, so fantastic. Well, we've got one more Grand Prix to come up.
Yeah, we have
in Torren.
Obviously, the championship is now decided in favour of Bartos Smalslig, but still obviously top 6 to go for. Freddie Lindgren and Magic Janowski both on 92 points apiece in 6th and 7th, although you would think whichever one of them doesn't get in will probably get a pick anyway. Tyler Wolfenden, of course, outside the top 6 as well on 88. So there's still a few bits and bobs to go for, and I think if you're quite low down, if you can get a big result on Saturday, then that's going to be giving a bit of a nudge to the organisers when it comes to picking the wildcards for next year. So.
Yeah, that will go on. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot to ride for there.
And of course, looking forward to seeing who's going to finish as the top British rider, because
it's all up for grabs between.
Because I mean, Robert Lambert on 97 in 4th, Dan Bewley 5th on 93, Ty Wolfenden 88 in 8th place. But obviously, Ty had a much better time last time out in Voynes with 14 points. He was the top scoring Brit, so. Who's to say that he might not go and have another good night in Torren, of course, the track where he won his first world title in 2013. So
2013, really is fun. Wow,
9 years ago.
Wow, we're getting old, folks.
You are.
So that's going to be interesting, because I think on the face of it does look like it's either going to be Lambert or Bewley, only 4 points separating them at the moment. So, but big positive for British Speedway, I think, for 2 British riders to be, for 3 British riders really to be in the top 10 of the.
Well, it is.
I'm trying to think, a long time since it's got to be going back 15, 16 years since the last time. So,
I mean, it is, and then again, it isn't, because it's only great news for Birmingham Speedway, for British Speedway. I do beg your pardon.
Yeah.
It's only great news for British Speedway if the papers and powers that be pick up on it.
Unfortunately, they haven't so far. Dan Bewley's obviously the first Brit to win back-to-back Grand Prix.
Nothing.
So.
Yeah, if you can just go. There was there you go. Pete Clark says Mike, is there a right time to get an injury?
November the 1st, I think. Isn't it?
There's never, November the 1st. There never is a right time for a rider to get an injury, but from a team point of view, there's a right time and a wrong time.
Yeah.
It's a whole averages thing, isn't it? If you've got a rider that is not performing really good, if he gets injured just before his average changes, then that's a really good time for the injury. Yeah, so. Yeah. Jeff Daniels says playoffs are great if run like Poland and Sweden. Like Matt said, get the league finished early. I think I said it as well. Okay. With Madsen winning the European Championship, where is an extra wild card now?
There is an extra wild
in
card,
total.
because obviously Madsen
there is an extra. Yeah,
his place
okay.
with winning the European Championship.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't realise that Bewley won the Czech Golden Helmet on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, mate.
I'm trying to think of the last British rider that won the Czech Golden Helmet.
Was it?
Does anybody know? So,
Probably Peter Collins, wasn't it?
if anybody knows, just put it on the comments,
Yeah.
and we'll.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, at one time it was a big thing to win that, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I think it still is to it, yeah, but perhaps
probably
not.
not so much in this country, but
He's had some year, hasn't he?
Dan Bewley's had
yeah,
a
he's had
great year.
tremendous year, considering that he wasn't even going to be in the series at the start of it. But he of course, and he's got his place because the two Russian riders were.
Yeah, and do they come back next year?
Well, I've seen somewhere. I don't know whether.
John Davis apparently was the last one to
John
win the
Davis.
Czech Golden Helmet.
It's
Wow.
got to be about 70. Certainly, it's got to be 70s or 80s, isn't it, for John
77, 78, I would think.
Davis? Yeah, I have seen somewhere that Emos I've heard of has apparently said that if he doesn't know by November the 1st what's going to happen with regards to him being able to race in Poland again, then he's going to retire. That's what it's a comment I've seen. I don't know whether that's true.
I mean, he can't be very old.
He's about 30, 32,
Wow.
33, possibly. Seems to have been around a long time, doesn't he? Because you still think of him as a young kid, don't you, that burst onto the scene
Yeah,
and
then
upset
we all
Scott
thought-
Nichols in the process.
We all thought this is the next big thing, and it never
Yeah,
really materialised for him, did it?
yeah.
A stat was put on the Bellevue fan site the other day. In all the playoff meetings Bellevue have ridden so far, 12, they've only tracked a fully fit 1 to 7 team on 4 occasions. That's an unbelievable run of bad luck, injury-wise, for the Aces. Some of that might be down to the Kurt Manshume track.
Well, possibly, yeah.
But
By the way, just some...
Rich Thompson says it might have
been
been
Calvin
Calvin Tatum.
Yeah. By the way, we have got some news from Coventry Speedway.
Okay.
Planning committee meeting to determine the Brandon Estates planning application scheduled for October the 12th has once again been delayed. Meeting was initially due to take place on September the 14th before being postponed in the wake of the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. We were then given formal notification by Rugby Borough Council of the October the 12th date. However, it has since transpired that the public consultation period into the application has been extended, with notices recently posted at the stadium site. This relates to a procedural error on the part of Rugby Borough Council in that the original notices did not refer to the application being a departure from the local planning plan. It is somewhat surprising that this was the case, that the application has clearly conflicted with the local plan from the outset, a point we have repeatedly made all through our representations over the past 6 years. And the local plan itself was only adopted after a government inspection in 2018 declared the initial plan unsound without modifications to safeguarding existing sports and recreational buildings, making the specific requirement that additional protection should be given to Brandon Stadium. We await further information regarding a confirmed new date for the planning committee meeting and can confirm that we will be submitting an extensive response to the planning officer's report, which incredibly recommended approval of the Brandon Estates application. This document will appear on the Save Coventry Speedway website and be sent to local and national media at an appropriate time in advance of the meeting. Wow, another delay.
Well, I mean, is anybody surprised?
Obviously, we'll keep our...
It feels like they're going to keep delaying it until they feel sure they're going to get the result
Yeah.
that they want.
There's a couple of questions.
Questions
on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
I'll start with David Edwards. What do you think the Wolves need to do next season?
Ooh, interesting one.
Race.
Well, obviously that would be a start. It would be a start. Let's just hope that's going to be the case.
Would you sign Jakob Thorsell if he became available?
No.
No.
I think he's gone backwards.
Okay.
Jakob Thorsell. He's not been particularly impressive, I don't think, in the Swedish league. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the rods that are available. It's a team that's sort of been together for quite a number of years now. Of course, Sam Masters is possibly going to be moving on in the Championship, with Edinburgh now looking very unlocked to run next year.
Mm-hmm. He won't be coming to Birmingham then?
No. Drew Kemp, I think, will definitely be a no-go. I think I've been bitterly disappointed with Drew Kemp this season. He's had a few...
Well, I mean, Dave Edwards actually asked that question. Do you think that Wolves should keep Leon Flint and Drew Kemp?
Leon Flint, definitely, because I think Leon's, certainly in the last few weeks of the season, has been superb, and he's really started to get to grips with Mumma now. Drew Kemp's been a disappointment. I'm maybe a little bit surprised that the club didn't look to replace him earlier in the season, really, because that's been our Achilles heel most of the season. We've sort of been a little bit weak at reserve, but obviously Leon Flint's form has sort of been a big positive over the last few weeks. I get the feeling if one rider in the top 5 is probably going to go, it would probably be Nick Morris. That's just a hunch. I don't know anything.
You have no
concrete.
inside
information of, but that's just an inkling I get. But we'll see where that pans out over the next few weeks, because Wolves generally do tend to have a period where they sort of stick with the nucleus of a team for 5 or 6 years, and then maybe sort of break it apart and build another nucleus and carry on that for 5 years. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
The stadium at Sheffield was not available during the long layoff due to the ground track being relayed, says Martin.
Yeah, that was a big problem, really, for Sheffield, wasn't it? They seemed to have loads and loads of matches that were not they weren't able to stage.
But they've still done in quite good time the ones since.
Yeah. Simon Wigg in 1994, the Czech Golden Helmet. Scott Nichols won it as well. I never realised Scott had won it.
Okay. 2005, Wig 94, Doncaster 89 and 90. So probably Scott Nichols then. Davis was the first Brit. Jeremy Doncaster won it twice, then Wig and Bewley.
Good man.
Sorted. Craig Smee, not surprised by that delay. However, this talking about Coventry now. However, the planning application from Brandon Estates is so flawed and being contested on numerous occasions that legally the council have now had to look at it more and look at both sides' applications. Hence the delay again. So maybe it's good news. I've given up trying to work out what's good and what's bad news
about the whole Coventry thing. We're just keeping our fingers crossed that we will be standing inside Brandon watching a Speedway meeting again at some point. It may well be a few years, and it probably won't be the Brandon that we've all come to know and love, because as I said before,
did you say all come to know and love?
Well, I mean, it is love on occasions when we win there, obviously, but.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's, as I say, we've seen recent photographs of the place, and it's in a shocking state now, and I would imagine parts of it must be pretty close to being pulled down due to being unsafe. So it's, don't forget as well, it is quite an old stadium anyway. So
absolutely. And Rich Thomas is fed up with the Czech Golden Helmet now.
Okay,
fair enough. Fair enough. Right, so there's a few important meetings coming up.
Yeah.
Shall we do a slightly more in-depth look at them than we normally would?
Why not?
Which meetings?
So, what have we got first?
Well,
I'm just talking about the playoff meetings, not the whole.
Okay. Well, of course, tomorrow night we've got this is going to be quite a lively one, I think. Has now become the first leg, Poole against Glasgow.
Poole against Glasgow, yeah.
I think with a lot of things that have been said in the press, it's going to be a meeting that's definitely going to be one to watch, I think.
Yeah, is it being streamed?
I think all the playoffs have been streamed in the
Okay.
championship. So
I'm definitely going to try and watch that.
yeah,
I mean, Glasgow are up against it a little bit, to be fair,
are
aren't
now,
they?
yeah.
With the injuries.
yeah.
Paul have sometimes looked a bit vulnerable at their own track this year as well.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a sticky spell earlier in the season, didn't they? I think when both teams are at full strength, I think Glasgow are the stronger team, but they've obviously had issues in recent weeks with that. So possibly Poole, I would say, as favourites to.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think
Well,
Poole
they're certainly going to win at home anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll do the actual scores when we do the
Prediction League.
prediction league, but
That's obviously the first leg of the semi-final.
so we already know who they'll be up against,
Yep.
which will be Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
And Poole versus Leicester is probably the one for the neutrals that would want to see. I like Glasgow, as you know, but
Well, I mean, I think we both said certainly for all the teams we've seen at Perry Bar this season, Glasgow were clearly the most impressive one of the lot, weren't they? They really did ride very well at Perry Bar that night.
yeah. I couldn't pick a team between Poole and Leicester. I've no idea how that's going to go. I think it's going to be a home track advantage on both. So it could be one of those that swing violent through from one to the other.
yeah.
And it might be an advantage to have the second leg in that one.
Quite possibly, yeah. Might possibly. So, the next one is the first leg of the semi-final in the Premiership on Thursday. That's Ipswich against Bellevue.
You see, this really depends on the Max Frick situation. I mean, in a way, Bellevue would be a bit silly to sign somebody, particularly for that match,
Absolutely, yeah.
because they can bring somebody in that they know goes well round Ipswich, couldn't they?
Well, let's just have a look at their results, how Bellevue have done at Ipswich this season. Yeah, they've actually been beaten both times. They lost the first match 47-43 and the second one 50-40. So they've been wins for Ipswich, but they've not been comprehensive wins. They've certainly been by results that if they were in the first leg of the meeting would be achievable to pull back at the NSS.
Yeah. You see, we was all talking about Bellevue being untouchable, a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, and then things have suddenly changed, haven't
They've
they?
changed.
So,
I actually fancy Ipswich to possibly come out on top on that. But it is hard. A lot depends on guests or signings, and you're thinking very hard about this, aren't you?
yeah, I think Ipswich. But again, wouldn't be surprised if it's 6-8 points, something like that. Which I think Bellevue would take, because I think whatever people say about Bellevue, I think they do now have a big home track advantage. I think
Yes.
they've got they've had some really big scores against teams at the National Speedway Stadium.
Yeah, because they know how to set their machines up for that
Yeah.
track. Any more?
Well, on the Saturday, of course, we've got the second leg of that other championship playoff semi-final. That's at Glasgow, weather permitting, of course.
So Glasgow was 6 points up in front, weren't they?
Yeah, at the time.
I think Glasgow will possibly just about clinch to that meeting, but I don't see them getting the aggregate score.
Well, let's have a look at how they've gone against each other in the league. I might be right in saying I think Glasgow have actually won at
At Poole.
I've got a feeling they have. Let's have a look. Just amuse yourselves all for a minute while I get this thing to work.
It's been nice weather we've been having, Chris, don't you think?
Fantastic, eh?
Rain and sun and
No, they haven't.
sun and rain.
51-39 to Poole in the league
Okay.
earlier in the season. So
You've been dying to play that all night.
that was in the league. So and they got on. How did they get on at up at Ashfield, it was always a draw there.
You got to think. I think. I don't want to say it, but I think Paul had got that.
I would say Paul probably now are favourites for that.
Anything else before the weekends?
Yeah, we've got the we've got the ones going into next week. Obviously Monday we've got the rearranged Wolves Sheffield match, which is now not televised. Of course, it's going to be updates only because it clashes with the other semi-final second leg at Bellevue.
Only in Speedway.
So second year in a row where not all the semi-finals are going to be televised because of the rain.
That could be a tasty meeting as well, couldn't it? Wolves Sheffield have had some good clashes this year.
I've got a hunch that the winner of the title might come from that meeting, you know.
So you're obviously hoping that it's going to be Wolves.
Yeah.
I think Wolves are going to have too much for Sheffield.
We've done well at Sheffield this season.
So I actually, over the two legs, I think Wolves will come.
Sheffield, of course, have already been to Monmouth and won earlier in the season.
It could actually be one of those meetings where they win at yours and you win at theirs. I mean, that's happened before.
It's not inconceivable now.
We had that, I think, at Birmingham in one of the Young Shield matches in 2007.
Yeah.
Can't remember who it was against, but we beat them at theirs and they beat us at ours. And
Mildenhall, was it?
I think it was, actually. I think it was Mildenhall, yeah.
And of course, you've got the other semi-final on the same night, Bellevue against Ipswich. So hopefully this time next week we will know who we'll certainly know who one of the teams in the final is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be nice to know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's not a lot. There's a few things on there. Shall we just catch up on the shout box?
Hang on. Hang on a second, because my screen has just decided.
Oh, is it frozen? It's frozen. Goodness me.
There we go.
Okay. That's fine from there anyway. Premiership pairs on 24th and 27th of October, says Pete Clark. Rich Thomas, just out of interest, in 1981, Swindon rode 57 matches, hosted, and then they disappeared, hosted 2 individual meetings and 1 pairs. Imagine that now. Yeah, but that also they had their own riders for one team and all of that, which made it.
I think at the moment Swindon would take having 10 matches, wouldn't they, just to get the place running again.
As a Tigers fan, I think our injuries will come back to haunt us, and also some of the riders not been racing for 7 weeks at home and only 1 away meeting in August. Wolves can say the same to an extent, can't they?
We haven't ridden at home since Bank Holiday Monday.
Right.
So it's.
But Simon Corbett says the Sheffield reserves, especially Connor Mountain, is riding well. But that's going to be interesting. I think that it could be one between Mountain and Leon Flint.
Quite possibly.
Somebody also mentioned that I think next year is going to be one big league, North and South.
I think it was Simon.
Yeah,
that's been suggested in the past.
And that we didn't. He thought that we didn't agree with that. My big worry is, where do the riders come from?
I don't think there's enough riders to do it at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unless you promote a lot of riders up from the National League who are going to be basically carried at the bottom of the
fodder.
team. Yeah.
Okay, so I think
I get the impression there's not really a lot of enthusiasm to do a restructure at the moment, although I think possibly they should be looking towards maybe having a bit of a restructure.
My understanding is that there's going to be a bit of lowering of the
Averages,
yeah, the team building averages.
Certainly in the Championship, anyway.
I don't agree with it, but my views on that are well known. 42.5 is what it should be.
Yeah.
That's it.
And speaking of Simon Corbett,
yes, let's have a look at the. It's getting very interesting in the league. First of all, the important one is that the guy in 17th place could overtake 16th next week.
That's probably because the guy at 16th hasn't done it for a few weeks. It's still taking him age to catch up with him.
I tell you what, I had a good week last week.
You did, yeah.
I had a really good week last week. But Ben Clifton had a fairly good week, slightly better than Simon Corbett, which means there are now 2 points in it at the top.
Yeah. Andrew Gone is only 3 points further behind. So.
Yeah, not a lot in it. Well, he got a result right, didn't he? Completely right,
Yeah.
which has pumped him up a little
Wouldn't
bit.
Simon be gutted if he loses it on the last weekend?
You sound like you want that to happen. Where?
It just makes it exciting, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Oh dear.
Oh, well.
We're just going to shove that up from Craigsmere. The only way one big league would work is if the Polish restrictions are lifted and some of the riders from Poland and Swedish leagues are persuaded to come back to the UK. I think there's... Yeah.
Be nice, a nice idea, but it's whether the pay would be enough to entice them back, unfortunately. I think.
And could we get through that many matches?
Yeah. Struggling to get through 10 matches, don't they, in the season? Right.
Anyway, let's go. So let's go through the actual all the fixtures. Join in. Even if you've never joined in before, you've still got a good chance of beating me.
Yeah. The paperclip.
So I believe, is it my turn this week?
Yep.
Okie dokie. So what's the first
Pool
match?
against Glasgow.
Pool against Glasgow. So I've already said I think Pool's going to win. But I'm going to say Pool by 12 points.
I've gone Pool by 10.
I'll go Paul by 14.
Wow, that's a big win.
Okay.
It can come back from that, to be fair.
Okay, the next one is the first leg of the other semi-final in the Premiership. That's Ipswich. No, sorry, that's the League Cup. The League Cup final, of course, first leg. Sheffield against Kings Lynn on Thursday.
Chef versus King. Okay. Up to you, Maestro.
Go on then. Oh, me.
Yes.
Right. Sheffield by 12.
I'll go Sheffield by 10.
Well, given the way that Kings Lynn beat Wolverhampton,
Yes.
Sheffield by 8.
Okay. Next up is the first leg of the Premiership Playoff semi-final. Ipswich against Bellevue.
I'll go Bellevue by 6.
That was quick.
Sorry.
Wow.
Bellevue by 6. Is that better?
Ipswich by 6.
Ipswich by 8 also.
Okay.
Okay. Now into
How
the
the mighty have fallen.
and now into the National League, we've got Armadale against Bellevue Colts.
Armadale versus Bellevue. That's up to you.
Bellevue by 12.
It was up to you, actually. I'll go Bellevue by 6.
I'm going to say Bellevue by 14.
Okay. Next up on Saturday at 3 o'clock, it's Glasgow against Poole in the rearranged. What was the first leg has now become the second leg.
I think the weather's going to win this one. It's up to you.
Yeah, because you've missed a go. Is it Glasgow versus Poole?
That's
Yes.
the one.
Okay, I'll go Glasgow by 4.
I'll go Glasgow by 2.
I'll go Glasgow by 4 as well, which will put Poole in the final.
Yep.
Okay. Next up is the National Development League. Leicester against Berwick. I think that's top of the table clash, actually. So.
Leicester versus Berwick. That's up to me then, isn't
Yeah.
it? Leicester by 16.
Leicester by 10. I'll say.
I'll go Leicester by 12.
Okay. Wolves against Sheffield is next on Monday.
Wolves against Sheffield. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wolves by 6 also.
I'll go Sheffield by 39. Sheffield by 6.
Sheffield by 39. Who is this guy? Draw.
Okay.
You'll get one of those ones.
You never know.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be happy with that, I must admit. On the same night is the semi-final second leg of the other match. That's Bellevue against Ipswich.
It's up to me, isn't it? I'll
T-shirt.
go Bellevue by 4.
I'm going to say Bellevue by 8, which would put them in the final. for
I'll
me.
say Bellevue by 10, which I think would put them in as well, just because I said Ipswich by 8 in the first league.
Yeah.
Okay, and last
Next
one
up.
is Plymouth against Armadale in the NDL.
Up to Mike.
It's up to me, yeah. Plymouth by 12.
Plymouth by 20 also.
I'll go Plymouth by 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
That
Well, that's
completes this week.
completed this week. Simon Pearson. Oh, Simon Pearson. Well, who is Simon Pearson? Is there
No
somebody
idea.
called Simon Pearson?
No idea.
I'm sorry, Nigel.
One week, somebody on the shout box is going to pop up. And go,
I'll have to
"Oh,
say-
it's Simon Pearson."
I feel like I'm being bad to a deity. I'll have to say 3 waffies.
Yeah.
You know.
But no, it's going to be interesting in the last few weeks, isn't it? With the just 3 points between the top two, so it's we'll may well go down to the wire. I don't know what we're going to do if we get a tie at the end of it.
I think the sophisticated coin comes into play, doesn't it?
You could be a speeder for Rasa with an idea like that. So.
This is an interesting comment by Fred Graham. If they water down the championship averages again, will the paying public get reduced admission fee? Don't think so. I know a large number of people who would not pay current admission prices for a league which is closer to NDL level. I don't think it would be close to NDL level.
No,
I think it's far too close to Premiership level,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Because I mean, how many riders in riding both leagues all the time? So that just evens it all out. So
Well, of course, we have the fixed nights now in the top league, which aren't universally popular. So
yeah, I mean, so I understand where you're coming from, Fred, but I don't think I necessarily agree that it would be nearer to the NDL. I think a championship side would thrash an NDL side.
Well, I suppose
without
a lot of the interesting things as well is whether we're going to carry on with the 6 teams in the Premiership next season, or whether they're going to.
Thank God you've got 6 teams.
Well, that's
is the first thing to
obviously,
say.
of course, have managed to get a stay of execution at the showground. I know there's been a lot of talk about Glasgow moving up, because although I think Glasgow have got the finances, I think there'd be a reluctance to move up. Although, of course, if we lose Edinburgh, then whether that changes.
Their nearest team then would be in the championship.
It would be we've obviously lost Newcastle as well, haven't we? So it'd be Redcar, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it's still a bit
There is-
close. Although in the Premiership it would be Bellevue. So
Yeah. I mean, there is the possibility of Workington coming back in the near future as well, isn't there?
I think are Workington going to be in the NDL initially, though? I think
don't know. I
because
don't
it is
know.
it's a very basic setup they've got there. It's a lovely setup, I must admit. I've seen photographs of it, and it's right on the Cumbrian coast as well. It's a really nice.
I've seen some
backdrop
pictures of
it,
the
so
track
it looks,
actually.
looks
and it
really
looks,
good.
It looks really, really good.
So there is some good things in Speedway.
jealous.
Obviously, Workington, looking good for being back at some point. Of course, Oxford's return might not have been successful on the track, but they've had very, very good crowds at Cowley this season. I think that's certainly worth, and that'll certainly give a lot of hope to Coventry.
We
in their
should
bid to try and
say
get
well
Brandon
done
back.
to Jordan Jenkins, of course.
Absolutely won the
NDL championship.
No, Jeff's right there. Berwick would be the closest one to
Glasgow.
Glasgow, yeah, so-
So that's Glasgow could definitely afford to move up, but seem to enjoy being a big fish in a smaller pond. I'm not sure that they wouldn't be a big fish in the small big pond. You get my drift.
Yeah.
There are whispers about another planning application at Swindon, but no way it'll be next year, if ever.
The Swindon situation really is concerning.
That's like losing Coventry all over again, Swindon.
Yeah, they have been the outstanding team in the. Them and Poole have been the two outstanding teams in the top league, wouldn't they? So
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, as Fred said, Berwick will be Glasgow's closest if Edinburgh close. I sincerely hope Edinburgh do manage to sort something out in time for next year, but I think that it's looking, unless they can do another deal to extend their stay at Armadale, which doesn't sound like is very likely.
No. Well, yeah, they're just best wishes to them, really.
Yeah.
Somebody's fuming, but he's disappeared.
I think it might have been Dylan.
There's got to be a minimum of 8 teams in each league, says Craig Smith.
Yeah.
I do beg your pardon. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Bloody fuming, says Spuddy, with NRRC. Was oohing and ahhing between Jenkins and Royner and ended up going for the one that didn't ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard luck.
It's the way it goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is the way it goes. Well, it's nearly time.
Yes.
I mean, the one thing I would like to say is that, I mean, we think we've probably got another 2
Yeah, I think so.
2 more programmes to go before the end of the season. We will stick it out to the end of the season, even if it is, I don't know, December the 25th, the way it's going. Merry Christmas.
We'll be looking to do a show after the AGM, possibly as well. Just to see what
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
Just to see what they've
when
come
there
up
is an
with this time,
AGM and there's all the news comes out, we will do a programme because we would love to get everybody's views on whatever comes out, and you can bet your bottom dollar that whatever comes out, more will come out about the AGM after the official release than because that's the way it always works. But was it ever thus? Glasgow can't afford to move up. They currently need 1,300 to attend to make a profit and get an average of 870 per meeting. For them to move up, unless there's a financial gain from Eurosport or BSPL, would be financial suicide for them. Also, riders demand more pay per point for Premiership, even though it's similar level to the Championship.
Well, Poole made their decision to drop down, didn't they? Because they felt that the Eurosport deal wasn't really lucrative enough. Again, I don't think Speedway realised how lucky it was when it had the Sky TV deal, and that was putting in big amounts of money into the sport back in the end of the 90s, and didn't take advantage of it, unfortunately.
No, they took too much of advantage for their own pockets.
Yeah.
I don't, or for the pockets of the riders started paying. I don't know, but there was no plan.
No,
essentially. Rich Thomas has asked us to do one a month through the winter to keep us all in touch.
Well, we may do one if there's a sort of special occasion.
Yeah, we've done that before, and we will just keep your eye on the website, and we will, and on the Facebook pages and everything. And if we do one, we will let you know.
But we will be back next week, of course, definitely. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got at least 2 more programmes, we think.
Yeah.
So. Right, oh gosh, the music started.
Yep, that's his way of saying go away.
Go away now, I want to go to bed. Take care, everybody. A Christmas special, says Pete Clark. Who knows? We'll see you all next week anyway. You take care, everybody, and good luck to everybody in the playoffs. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.